Hello and welcome to the Ghostly Bear Games video blog. We record our day-to-day meetings as we work on our first game, In Search of a Home. These are unscripted, lightly edited segments from meetings that cover engineering, production, and design. Let us know any topics or questions you might have in our Discord. Thanks for watching.
So I'm gonna be starting on ship picking phase. Well, I've already started on it. And as I'm getting into it, I'm realizing, okay, I need to make sure that we're all on the same page of what this is gonna just generally be. I know that we have like the overview done, and that's what's in this document, which is the player always starts with their flagship. And I guess we'll just for right now make it the same flagship every time. And then we have players draft ships until they have a 4-ship fleet. We talked about making 5, and I kind of really like that idea.
Sure. I mean, I feel like that's an arbitrary thing. If we want to up it to 5, we can up it to 5.
Number of ships?
Okay.
Yeah, number of total ships in your fleet.
The only thing we'll have to consider on that is resources for future jumps, right? It does mean that you'll consume more fuel.
Maybe we can make it optional. You pick either 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it should be optional. I think that would be...
I mean, there's always a point. Well, that's the thing that we talked about is like, at any point in time, you could just say, yeah, I'm done.
Well, that
and
is
leave.
true.
Like, there's no reason we don't make the thing of being like, yeah, I got 1 ship. I like that ship. I don't want any more. I'm out. Like, I'm going to do this with 2 ships.
I kind of dig the super ship run.
There's nothing stopping us from just having a I'm done with this button.
Yeah.
Should we allow you to just pick as many ships as you want then?
No, because we
I
don't
think
have
we
enough
should be enough
spaces. I don't want to display-wise deal with that crap right now. Like, there is a set number of points that the ships can be inside the fleet right now. Then
Should we have
be
5
on screen?
Or not?
Yeah, we have 8 or 6,
Okay.
6
So-
to 8 somewhere in there.
One thing that I would wonder about, like if you were at 4 ships versus 5 ships, would you have the same number of population spread across those ships? So the idea that they get more distributed, and then we could have a minimum population count for a ship, and that's the bounding.
I would think that we would put a large amount of people on the flagship and then just have a small amount for every other so that everyone generally has roughly the same, but the more ships you have, the more population you'll have. But also
And
the
we'll have
more fuel
population.
costs.
Yeah. Okay.
And the more quests you're going to get from
Potential
from,
factions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It increases your faction mix. Yeah, that's good. That's a good.
It has a possibility to, I should say.
But you also get more hard points to do more stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Without the
so-
cooldowns, it's not as punishing though.
Well, I mean, execution time is the same thing as cooldown, just front load.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
you still probably
execution's
want
supposed
other ships doing. You can.
Yeah.
The more you can double up and do things concurrently, the better.
Plus special
Each ship
ability
draft
ships.
option shows the captain, faction, ship abilities, installations, and resources that they come with or cost. A player so the player only gets to see 1 ship at a time. If they pass, they pass. Then the next ship moves on. The reroll thing, I actually don't think we need the reroll at this point. I think we just say there's we have X number of ships that we could go through. Do you want to go through them or not? Like, you can leave whenever you like, or you can keep going through them. Oh, wait, that's right. We wanted to make it to
Yeah.
where if you don't, we do need the fuel cost. Never mind.
Yeah. We
Yeah, we
don't
need the
want
fuel
people
cost
just
one.
sitting there mining until they get exactly what they want.
Yeah,
the fuel cost.
Yeah.
So it always costs 1 fuel to get the
To re-
next ship?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good. Because
And
that'll
then
give
we
us a
make
hard
sure we
cap.
give them, and we give them enough fuel up front that drafting a normal fleet of 4 gets them to whatever the starting fuel we'd expect them to have is.
Or not.
Yeah. Or not.
I mean, I kind of like the
or
idea.
more. Like you
oh, I
could see a
choose-
ship that's like, oh god, that ship has like 12 fuel on it. That's awesome. It has nothing else, but
Yeah,
12
that's fair.
And I'm
'Cause
thinking
they've got an initial loadout. Yeah, that's true.
I'm thinking it's probably just fuel for the flagship that you can use. If you find a ship along the draft that has fuel in it, you can't use that fuel to find more ships.
No, but you'll
What
get
do you
that
guys
when it
think?
spawns.
yeah, correct.
Yes, you'll get it when you spawn. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
So
should
your
be
flag-
unlimited. Yeah.
Like, probably your flagship starts with something like 12 fuel or something like that. And So you'll get that number of potential ship picks, and the fewer things you take, the more fuel your flagship starts with to start
Yep.
the game. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah. And I will say, like, part of me is like, from playing a few games, like having more fuel at the beginning is not a bad thing. Like, I feel like you run out of fuel too early in our current, like where our arbitrary numbers are right now. So having more, fine. Like that's not going to be a problem.
Probably we should just make it so that every ship, no matter what, starts with one fuel at least. It could be more, but it should be at least one so that you can make your first jump no matter what.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah. One more thing to consider there is that this is the opportunity for us to force players to learn how to long range scan. Like,
How so? Sorry, I'm not
you
understanding.
need to make a jump out of your. We should make it so that you have to make a jump out of your initial drafting phase.
Oh, really? This is just gonna be UI. This isn't gonna be like a system. I think that's gonna be really hard to implement.
Yeah, that's I think one of the pieces. If we were going to do the origin update, like would
but
make
we can
that
have
whole.
a button that says jump away or something like that. To start
Well, this is going to probably be happening with the first system. Is this?
That's a good idea. Just have the button that says jump your flagship.
Right. Everything everything goes away. You have the the barren planet in the background. The UI comes up for you to select what you want, and then the jump button comes up at the very end when you're like, I'm ready. And then
are you talking about changing that main menu thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so just like that actually will make the work a bit harder.
Sure.
I'm just saying it's a map change.
Okay.
So when we're saying that, we're increasing the cost to actually implement this thing.
I'm just saying we can put it anywhere. Even if we want to put it at the initial fade in, I think that's fine. But
how about I do this? How about I make the first system that you start the game in always the same system, which is an ocean planet with a habitability of 0.
Yep.
That'd be fine. Just something that gives us the ability for that first jump with whatever your ships are makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Because then we could just say your flagship is going through and collecting ships, and there'll be a summary of which ships you've collected as you go, and then you're going to have to make a jump at some point. So I'll just trigger the jump in for the other ships afterwards. That should be pretty easy, right, Anthony?
Sure.
Like if I do the UI for collecting the data for the ships, I will go in, make it so that the flagship jumps in, and that's it. And then later it will create some ships and jump them in afterwards, and then they'll all jump out together. How does that sound?
Sounds reasonable. There is going to be some work on that will mess with loading save games right now. That will have to be changed around.
Where's the best place to put this UI for creating your fleet at the beginning?
It is going to be there. I think that is the right place because of the map change. It's going to be obnoxious to put it before that map.
Do we want to just
actually in the game
map that is the map for drafting, and we do a
it's still not like it's. I mean, you can do it that way. Then you're going to save all this data into another object because it doesn't persist between map changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna have to read it in on the. It's effectively a small amount of serialization here.
Okay,
saving and loading.
Implement this as best I can, and then I'll hit you up, Anthony. So maybe we can pair on the serialization.
If you want to do it that way, if we want to do it outside of the game, then it has to be on a different map than the actual in-game map. Then there will be some portion of either saving all this data into the game instance while you're running, or offloading it into a small serialization file and then reloading that into once we hit the main game. So
I mean, it sounds like no matter what, there's going to be a decent amount of work on one side or the other. So I think we should just decide what is it we want from a gameplay experience, start to work on that, and then do the work that we need to get it in place. I mean, we're sizing this.
I think from a gameplay experience, we probably want to jump into the first system, which is Earth, that being dead, basically. Right?
Or
Does that sound
there.
correct?
I would want to start
yeah,
there.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
have them jump in, but have
Or
the
not
ship
jump in. Yeah, sorry.
but
It'll just be
spawn
there.
with
My
our
bad.
planet. Yep.
Yep. And then you can collect.
And then
that just as you collect them, they just either
come out from behind the planet.
exactly. They do like honestly, probably for the easiest thing now, they just jump in next to you, like you.
I think that's
like
going to be
just
the
appear
easiest
next
way.
to you.
Totally fine.
That weird thing, but that's in game. So it's really just a matter of. That would be we can talk about do it. It would just be like, hey, if you already have you're loading a save game, don't do this.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
This whole phase is not there, and we just load the full fleet. All the saving only happens once jump in is complete.
That makes sense.
Okay. Cool.
So I think we can just flag it and figure out all the places that it breaks things, but
okay, awesome. And are we also down for we had discussed this in the past, but just to make sure everyone is on board with it, we are down for saying most installations on ships are removed. You start with a lot more resources so you can build stuff. You can kind of more customize your fleet. And fleet captains have the ability picked for them, whatever their keyword is or whatever the stuff that Will's working on up front, and that comes with the ship. You're not switching captains on different ships and stuff.
That's part of the pairing at the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your small world board pairing.
So we got captain, faction. Faction is part of ship by default, right?
Yeah. And depending on the type of right now, certain ship types there's an array in the JSON of what factions can be on what ships. We may want to expand that so all factions can be on all ships. Like the flagship can be any faction. And there's always 2 or 3 factions. Like the military ship can be like Legion and Swarm, I believe, or something.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
So, I mean, we might want to expand that out so they can be more, or it's fine to be like, no, it's a military ship. It's going to be one of these. But it's JSON data. It's easy to change. But yeah, we'll choose a faction. You probably choose the faction before you choose captain. Or captain is a random name, and now is going to be an ability. But some of the abilities, I think, in our content creation basically say this ability is tied to this faction.
Yeah.
So it would basically be a captain on the ship of this that is on the ship is this faction, has the possibility of having this faction ability.
Okay, that sounds good.
Or it's an inexperienced captain that can't do anything.
Poor inexperienced captain.
I'm looking at the JSON now to see if there's any other gotchas, and I see that Will implemented belay that order, and the narrative description is stop.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That's awesome.
Okay. Then I feel confident now that we are aligned enough that I can proceed with this work. So that's all I need from this part of the design time. Does anyone else have stuff to bring up for design time?
I saw it in the conversation. I want a +1, yes, morale instead of mood, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where was it called mood?
It's called mood in the lower left-hand corner.
In the bottom left.
Oh, all the docs and stuff, and everywhere that it's in code, it's always called morale.
Yep. It's the way
it's just
the way
single.
It was. It's just the way it was mocked up, and so it just needs to be changed. And then coming up with, I think I put in a card for basically taking that info panel and making it and colorizing the panel, which we originally wanted to do, but we didn't do because of time.
One thing I've been thinking of is potentially putting a fill behind it, so you can see a fill bar that is 0 to 100. You can't see a number, but you can actually see where. Because there's times when I'm like, I don't, unless someone has a really strong argument, this should be done this way. I really don't like loyalty and morale being exposed numbers.
Yeah, no,
because then it's a gaining of. I don't want. Those are feelings. They're not things to be gamed by like, oh, I gain 5% morale or I lose. That's not how I think. But a bar or something that's amorphous without a specific number can show
a bar or a duber. Something. I mean, just something that gives you the sense that something changed. Like right now, using aggressive exploit, for example, you just can't tell. Like, you can't tell anything changed. So we should do a flash.
I'm in favor of the duber. Because the duber is gonna
morale down with it. It should show a number. It should. Oh, it's the same way that it should just move the same thing that the loyalty thing does, where it puts the name of the faction on greens or reds.
Sure.
And it's also why I want to kind of turn away. I don't know when we'll get to it, from doing this constant morale constantly ticking down, as opposed to bigger. Like just sometimes it just is like, hey, your morale ticked down. And you show that duber morale went down.
Yep.
It's not this constant thing just going.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Although that's probably not actually hard to do. We could just say every X number of hours it might just chunk down by a point by a thing going like, yep, it went down.
Yeah, thresholds for notification.
That
would be an easy way to do it. But I think if we were to take that info panel and make it dynamic the way I think it was originally envisioned, so that we can have colorization, we can have flashing, we can have whatever we want over there based on events. That would be good. So
it'll be fun when we get to the point where we can do stuff where the duber is actually like a news bar goes across the bottom where some faction is like, does this captain even know what he's doing?
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
I would love to have. I should just put that somewhere. Do you just want the ticker running across the top of the screen?
No, not all the time. Just like because then it just becomes background noise. But like having a lot of the events and stuff delivered in that very in flavor way will be fun.
It's the FNN, the Fleet News Network.
We wanted to talk about the. We also wanted to talk about the system stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So let's shift to that instead of Helios.
Okay. So right now, as implemented, obviously it's the more abstracted version of long-range scanning. So it seems like now, so we have 3 layers currently. We've got the galaxy layer, which requires long-range scanning. We've got the system layer, which requires scanning, and then we have planet scanning, celestial. I'm just going to say planet because celestial objects too long, but asteroids are included, et cetera, or whatever else. So planet scanning, and then we have the planet layer, which doesn't require any kind of scanning whatsoever. It's just you just interact with it however you like.
Just consider exploiting a version of scanning. Like it's the last layer to that.
It's physical.
Sure.
It's the actual decision to go for it.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So right now what we're doing is we're adding a middle layer in there where it's going to be, or actually no, sorry, we're adding a lower layer where you have the system level. You've got different points in the system, and then each point has sub points, like either moon satellites, rings, the planet itself and the regions on the planet, etc. All those kinds of things are the next level lower. Sure. So my question is going to be actually I have 2 questions. First of all, do we want to add any kind of scanning for that level? My gut says no, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that.
All the scanning and exploiting would move to that lowest level.
Oh, it would move to that lowest level.
Exactly.
That middle layer is not really an important thing. It's a travel layer at that point. You're just
purely a travel layer. Yep.
Okay. So you'd have to. Okay. So like each moon would have to be scanned separately, etc. That kind of stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
But each region of the planet would need to be scanned. I mean, take what we have now and just make it, but change the metaphor of like what you're doing is not scanning celestial objects. Well, you kind of still are because moons are.
Yeah, it's.
But sure. But it's the visual metaphor is changing.
Yeah,
not the actual functionality, gameplay of it.
Well,
okay.
To that point,
so then,
I want to interrupt there. To that point, that's the area where I was wondering: do we distribute and create an action economy that is a design layer that breaks apart the clump of resources that we've placed on each thing so that we can have players invest more scanning into that layer. Right? This is the like reduction of scanning times, increase the number of scans available to a player, access more nodes and deliver that information piecemeal to players, and then have them exploit all of the things that they've identified on one cluster.
Yeah, I think this is the opportunity for us from a design perspective to look at that in terms of what we can do, where like certain kinds of scanning maybe are like, you have science systems that you can use to scan the atmosphere and the soil. And then you'd have, exploitation, like you could have shuttle crews that will go down and land on a planet and check out area. Like there are different ways we could go to address each of these different sort of areas. But from an overall activity point of view, it's just moving it. It's literally just mapping this from one side to the from the solar system to a planetary system, and it's just visually we're representing it differently. But I think it gives us a better narrative for doing exactly what you're talking about, Brandon, which is making more kinds of installations, more kinds of scanning and region discovery, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
So my second question is then fuel costs. We have fuel costing 1 for I'm assuming going from celestial object to celestial object now.
Fuel cost is 1. Fuel cost is 1 for everything. Fuel cost is always 1.
It's always 1. Every time you jump, a ship takes 1 fuel to jump, no matter what the distance.
Is it? It doesn't matter whether it's
using
a
wormholes.
completely new star system.
Nope.
Yep. So the narrative reason is the jump drives. What it does is it opens a wormhole to a location you specify and shoves the ship through it in a one-way journey. And so whether you open the wormhole from Earth to Mars or whether you open the wormhole from Earth to Alpha Centauri, it just costs the 1 fuel to open the wormhole. It just takes you longer to be able to calculate accurately the landing point of that wormhole.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah. That sounds good.
Time sync.
Yeah. Cool. So if you want to jump farther, you just have to spend more time scanning. Is the thing.
More time or more installations, more ships working together.
BRB 1 second. I have to get dog.
Yep. Dog.
Thank goodness, I hate that guy.
Linked neural network computers calculating. Oh no, it's your astrogation check actually.
Yeah. Or you have
it's a quantum number for the physics of going through space through wormholes.
Or you have a deep space probe you can send early that costs
hyperdrive.
You 1 fuel.
There was an alien that deep space probed me one time. It wasn't very comfortable.
Oh my god!
And then if you look on the big planning thing, Carl put the void update out there, which is whenever you shove yourself through a wormhole and you go to hell.
Yes. And then we load the Doom cow level?
Yeah, warp demons.
No, we just start playing Event Horizon.
Ooh.
Yeah, the best 40k movie.
I'm starting to get more interested.
Anyway,
I'm really excited for all of this. I mean, I'm all about writing events for the warp.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, the wormhole place.
Sure.
Okay. I kind of have one more question of something that this might be a can of worms that we don't want to open right now. So people feel free to shut this down completely. Yeah. But I'd like to see more resource types in our game.
Yeah.
Pretty badly.
I know it complicates. We should have more eventually. I don't know if now is the time for it, but I always envisioned that there would be rarer things than what we have right now.
Yeah, I want some
rare
rares
metals
and like some installations to go with it that give you like awesome abilities, but they're useless without this thing and stuff like that. Because then it really allows you to customize.
It was something I just don't think it was something to blow out as we make the game. Like right now, the game's not long enough, I think, for it.
Yeah.
Which I've actually been looking at like times of like I'm like, what's the average play time for like an FTL run? 3 to 4 hours for a winning run. For winning, how many runs before end within like 20 minutes?
I mean, I think you can find roguelikes that go all across the spectrum for that, though, because Slay the Spire, you can potentially win that in like 45 minutes to an hour. If even a winning run, like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
it just goes
fine.
fast.
I kind of want longer if it allows more depth of choice, basically.
As long as we're continuing to make interesting choices, I'm fine with it. Like my biggest critique of this War of Mine is that you basically win at the halfway point or don't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very rare that
it afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and we should be be very aware of when we're balancing to hit that, because I hate that crap. Basically, I don't like cleanup. If I won, just tell me I won.
Would we possibly consider, more resource types or specialized resource types as part of the research update?
Maybe.
Sure. I mean, I'm down for putting them in whenever. I do, well, not the next release or the release after, probably, because I think we have too much other important stuff ahead of time. But it's just, as I'm playing it more, I'm kind of feeling like I kind of really wish we had more than just metal and gas. I know we have fuel too, but fuel's single purpose.
We'd eventually get there.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I had also thoughts of more like unique things of like, hey, you exploited this area and you found a single rare mineral, like that isn't something that just you stockpile. It's like, oh, I have
like an inventory,
space quartz, one chunk of space quartz, and now I can that lets me do something because I have that now. Or
I mean, I think we're wide open to doing that. I think there's also room, depending on how much we want to go down the path of like gas is actually a collection of different gases that are all useful, and then and we had talked at one point about, rather than having food, ships basically have chunks of life support, and you had to gather 3 things to make a chunk of life support or whatever, right? But I do think that what we need to do is one, that sounds a lot like a down the line expansion of overhauling all of that stuff, because it goes from scanning through potentially research and installations and all this stuff. And 2, I think we should just work on a cohesive design of what model do we want to use to do all that kind of stuff, and how do we want it represented in game, and then have a design time to beat it up, and then put it in the long-term backlog, right? So
okay, that sounds good. I like the idea of space quartz.
Space quartz.
Did you know that 4 space quartz make a space gallon?
That's a good one. I like that one.